and it's really about impact through transparency and access to data. Definitely a very, very timely topic, I think, for everyone, especially in these very challenging times. So, Mikkel, over to you. Very excited to hear.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I wanted to share with you why I'm so particularly passionate about many of the challenges and that has been put up this year. They fit the broader theme of what I think is one of the biggest problems with getting finance to flow to those places where they create most impact, which is externalities, positively and negatively. But before I do that, I just wanted to briefly mention a little bit about DBS and the kind of institutions we are. We've been focusing on the issue of not just sustainability, but the impact that we create as a company for a while now. Of course, when you're a bank, one of the biggest impact you can make is through who you choose to bank with. And so trying to figure out what are the externalities when we lend to a certain sector is certainly not a trivial exercise. But we also try to solve some of these things. And as we heard my good colleagues from Citi talk about, we've been trying to solve them through supply chain transparency. But we've also been doing some work around other areas such as carbon pricing and where externalities keep coming up. So it's an issue for whether you're talking about capital funding, whether you're talking about products coming to market from supply chains everywhere. And those are the things that we're interested in DBS. And the first time this really dawned on me was a study by Trucost a number of years back, where they looked at some of the industries that actually had the most negative externalities. And the top 20 of those actually create more negative externalities than the profit that they make, which I guess is a proxy for the value to the world. And therefore you can see them as negative contributors to the world. And it got to get you thinking around whether we're financing the right type of people, and whether you come at this from a risk perspective, whether you come at this from a stakeholder capitalism point of view, it all points to the same thing. We need to figure out how to measure these things, and we need to be able to put a price on them. So many of the problem statement that we're looking at this year is trying to do elements of that. And for me, it really boils down to solving one of 6 problems. Either you're trying to solve for capturing of the data, it needs to exist. Either you're trying to resolve for lowering the barrier to getting this, because a lot of this is behind paywalls. Otherwise, you're trying to solve issues around trust. This data is not easy to understand, and there are many ways to calculate this thing. Otherwise, you're trying to solve these things around aggregating these things and making them meaningful. Or otherwise, you're trying to solve around how do you make them comparable to the rest of the world. And of course, there are issues around reporting as well. And unless you solve one or more of these issues, we're never going to get to a decent pricing of externalities. And that's why I'm quite passionate about solving many of the issues here today. Now, the supply chain finance was already mentioned. From ESG to SMEs is a crucial issue. But pretty much every single one of these has an element of that. So the ability to capture data, turn that into a dollar amount and report it in a sensible way, is going to be one of the key challenges for us in the next 5 to 10 years. So if any of you are a startup who's looking into some of this, we really want to hear from you. So that's pretty much it.